Hi everyone, so for today's video, we're going to introduce to you the concept of derivatives. We're going to introduce derivative first as a slope of the tangent line. So paano kaya na-relate yung ating derivative sa slope ng tangent line? How are they related? Actually, by definition, derivative is referring to the slope of the tangent line or the instantaneous rate of change. So, recalling our slope formula, it's denoted by this one. That's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, commonly known as the rise over run. So if you're given with these 2 points, that's x2, y2 and x1, y1, the slope determined by this line containing these 2 points is given by this formula. Okay? So if we have this illustration, we have a curve here. If we want the slope of the tangent line at this point P, when we speak of tangent line, sabi natin it's a line that touches the curve at exactly one point. So when we talk about the tangent line at this particular point P, we just refer to this red line. Kaya lang kung one point lang yung pag-uusapan natin, how can we utilize the formula for the slope since this formula involves 2 points, no? So we have another point, we get another point on the curve, say Q, okay? So ang Q natin is right here. So from this given illustration, ang x coordinate niya will be x plus h and its y coordinate will be this one. That's f of x plus h. So sabi natin it's y2 minus y1. So ang ating p naman, ano yung kanyang x and y coordinates given this and this one? It will be represented by x, f of x. So if we are to make use of our formula, sabi natin y2 minus y1, so it will be the difference of their y values. So it will be represented by this distance. Okay? Tapos, yun yung ipa-plug in natin sa numerator. And then, ang denominator natin will be the difference of their x values naman, which is this distance. Okay? Which is this. Okay? So, we have this as our slope or as our line. Tapos, if we're getting the slope of PQ, we want the difference of that for our numerator. So that's f of x plus h minus f of x. And then x plus h, the difference of these two values, x plus h minus x, that will be h. Given by this blue horizontal line segment here. That will become our denominator. Okay, so let's plug it in there. So there you go. That will be for the slope determined by the line segment Q. But what we want is the slope of the tangent line. Remember our original problem. So we want our Q to get closer and closer to Q. Until that line determined by PQ almost overlaps with the tangent line at point P. So that means we want the H to be very, very small or as small as possible or almost zero. That means to say, we want this distance h, to be approaching 0. And that leads us to the definition of our derivative. Okay? Since our function is y given as f of x, we have this notation dy over dx, which denotes the derivative of y with respect to x. Okay? So originally, we had this formula right here, this fraction. Okay? But because of this notation, it becomes now our derivative function or derivative definition using the limit. Okay? So our notations for the derivative of the function, given this function y equal to f of x, we have the following. We have y prime dy over dx or derivative of y with respect to x, f prime of x, and dy or derivative of y with respect to x. Okay? Ayun. So, that goes to say, if we are given with, say, u equals g of t, derivative of this will be u prime g prime of t, derivative of u with respect to t, or derivative of u with respect to t. Okay? So those are the notations for the derivative. The other meanings of the derivative of the function. We have already encountered derivative referring to the slope of the tangent line. But when we say slope, di ba, yun yung increment in y for every unit increase or for every unit increase in x, correct? So it's the instantaneous rate of change of the function y with respect to x given this function y equal to f of x. Okay? So ayun, it's referring to this one and this one. That's why if you see these phrases, they just refer to the derivative of this function. Okay? So wag pong matakot dyan sa mga definitions na yan or sa mga phrases na yan. Needless to say, given y equals 3x squared, the derivative that we got using the limit definition was 6x. Okay? Other notation for that is dy dx equal to 6x or f prime of x equal to 6x. All of this mean the same thing. They refer to the derivative of 3x squared. Okay? So, syempre, we don't want to make use of the limit again and again as we evaluate the limit of certain functions. So, we want some shortcuts. Okay? So, in general, if we're given with this form, y equal to cx to the n, what we do is simply multiply. Yan, so, take note of this formula. We multiply the coefficient by the exponent. So, we have cn there using that notation. And then, copy the base, but this time we subtract 1 from the exponent. Okay? So we take note of this formula. Okay? So this is applicable whatever your exponent is, whether it's a negative number, whether it's a fraction, whether it's a radical, a negative of a fraction, so long as your n is constant. Okay? So, ang process of getting the derivative is actually called differentiation. Okay? So, sa math, iba yung word na differentiate compared to the context of the word differentiate in the English language. Okay? Okay, now let's find the derivative of the following. Say we're given with y equals x. Understood coefficient of this is 1. Okay, so that means our derivative is 1. For number 2, we have y equals x squared. So we simply place this down. Tapos subtract 1 from 2. So y prime will just be 2x. Okay, for number 3, y is equal to pi. Pi is constant. This is constant. That's just an irrational number. Okay? Pero nonetheless, constant pa rin yun. So, y prime equals 0. For number 4, we have 10,000x. Okay? So, kung ganito lang po na x lang yung kasama niya, yan, that means we just have to pick up this coefficient. No matter how big it is, it will become our derivative. So, y prime equals 10,000. For number 5, we have y equals e squared. E is a constant, so don't get intimidated by the exponent here. It's still a constant. There's no variable right here. Okay? So differentiating with respect to x, y prime is 0. Okay? Ayun. So for next naman, we're given with x over 2. Yan. Instead of treating this as a quotient, we treat this as a constant times x. Okay? And that constant will just be 1/2. So it's 1/2 times x, no? So sabi natin pag ganitong form na x lang yung kasama niya, we just have to pick up the coefficient. Parang pag x kasama, pag may kasamang x, pick upin mo lang yung coefficient niya, okay? So that means y prime is 1/2. For number 7, let's make the coefficient or exponent more obvious para ma-apply natin yung ating formula. So, ang formula natin, di ba, may kinalaman sa exponent. So, we rewrite y as 2 times x to the negative 1. That way, we can easily see that 2 will be multiplied by negative 1. So, y prime is negative 2, x raised to negative 1 minus 1, which is negative 2. This can be simplified as negative 2 over x squared. For number 8, we have y equals 1/2. This is very easy because 1/2 is just a constant. So, y prime will be 0. For number 9, y is equal to square root of x. Every time you have a radical, you have to make the exponent obvious by writing it like this. So, x raised to the power 1/2. So, again, yung sabi ng ating rule, we just have to bring this down and subtract 1 from that exponent. So, that becomes 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. Okay? Simplifying, that is 1 over 2 square root of x. And if we rationalize this becomes square root of x all over 2x. Now, for the last example, let's have this one. This can be written as 2x to the negative 1/2. Again, we want the exponent to become more obvious. Okay? So, again, we have to multiply this by the exponent. So, we have y prime equal to 2 times negative 1/2, and then negative 1/2 minus 1 will be negative 3/2. Okay? Notice that we can simplify the 2 and negative 1/2. This will cancel out. So, coefficient will just be negative 1. Tapos, this will become square root of x cubed. We can further simplify this as negative square root of x all over x squared. So, that's it for our introduction to the derivative. See you on the next video. Sabi nga sa isang meme, pimples, 0. Blackheads, 0. Derivative of a constant, 0.